Hi, this is Buzz Burhans again with NDS North America. I'm here today with Dr. Dave Weber, and we're looking at the update to CNCPS from version 6.5 to 6.55. We've put out two tutorials today on the changes. The first one is on the biggest change, which is the change in the passage rate for forage. And as we saw when we went through that, that has some significant effects on nutrient supply, especially on the ME supply. The other big change is the change in the amino acid connection to tissue mobilization or repletion. So as body condition changes, the amino acid supply requirement will change now. So what we'd like to do in this third and for the minute final video for today is just give you some idea of how to deal with the nutrient supply changes in the lactating animals. Neither Dr. Weber nor myself has enough experience yet. This has just come out with the heifers and the dry cows, and we expect that formulating diets in 6.55 is going to be, it's going to give us a much more accurate prediction of energy balance and growth in heifers and dry cows especially. The big reason for that is that most of the changes in the nutrient supply are related to the forage in the diet, and those diets, the growing heifers, particularly the older ones, and the dry cows, are going to tend to be on higher forage diets, so the impacts will be bigger for them. We're going to save that for another day till we have just a smidgen more experience with that, and we have looked pretty hard at how this is going to affect the lactating diets, so we'd like to jump right in there and take a few minutes and tell you what we're thinking, and then you can jump in and get some experience on your own and maybe let us know what you're thinking. But I should tell you that I'm pretty excited about this, because one of the things that I have always tried to do, so I've been teaching people how to use the model since the early 90s, I think. One of the things that I have always tried to do is get people to get their inputs to accurately predict what the cows are doing at the start, before you start revising the diet or remodeling it. And I've always felt that if you can't get the model to predict accurately what the cows are doing currently, then that gives you a lot less, or at least it does me, gives me a lot less confidence that the changes I make are going to be reflected in cow performance too. And with 6.55, it's going to be more apparent that you need to do that. So this diet, let me go back to my main screen. I'm set up on 6.5 as my default still for the minute. And this is the diet that we looked at in the first two tutorials today on the update to 6.55. And if you recall, these animals were actually producing about 90 pounds when I was there last week. And this is in 6.5. The diet is predicting fairly well. So what I did was do a save as, and I threw that diet over here. So it's in the next tab, same diet. But now what I'm going to do is make the switch, and I can do it up here, to 6.55. And we're going to see what this diet looks like in 6.55. And what we'll notice is that the predicted milk in 6.55, right up here, has gone up. So the first limiting is ME milk, and it's 94. And when we go back over to our original, we were at 90, and that was pretty accurate. So what's going on here? Well, one of the things that we have to pay attention to is what is really going on with the cows. We tend to want to think it's all about the milk, but this model is taking into account things like the environment, things like body condition change, and we all too frequently don't pay enough attention to those things. So let's just take a look in the animal inputs for this diet and see how well I have described the animal. So I have the mean full body weight at 1375. And actually this herd is over 50% heifer, so I have that set a little bit smaller, but that can make a difference. And these numbers here are something in another session we'll get into. I think we need to do a better job of predicting animal size. I see that I have my milk set at 88, and these cows are actually doing 90. So when I revised this diet, they were at 88, and then, lucky for me, they read the papers and they came up to 90. So we'll put that in there. The milk fat is at 4, and they actually are doing 4%, but their protein has been running 3.3. If you look at the amount of amino acids we got in there, you could see maybe why. But let's change that protein to 3.3. And now here's one of the biggest things that's going on here. I had them set in, they're carrying pretty good flesh. And this is across the entire herd, right? This herd feeds 2 TMRs. There's a fresh TMR for the first 30 days, and the entire rest of the herd gets what's essentially a high group TMR. And the average condition in this herd is pretty close to about 3.1, I think. But if you look, let's go back out and see with those changes what my predicted milk is. And my predicted milk is still over. So with that change in the protein supply and little bitty changes I made, I'm down to 93.65, but I'm still over predicting compared to what the cows are actually doing. So let's take another look. Whoops. Forgive me, I'm trying to, there we go. Let's take another look at the requirements and see what's going on. There are my inputs. Well, I guess I should go back here and point out one thing. Look at the energy balance side here. So my cows are actually making 90, and I've set the requirement for 90 pounds, and I've set the components correctly, and they're 3% over their requirement if you look at what their requirement is here. So they're basically, if we look at this area right here, they're 2 megacows over what they need. What the model will do is take that and go down here and say, well, they're going to change a body condition in 263 days. But if I go back in, forgive me while I switch back to the pointer here. If I go back into the animal inputs, I'll see that it says that the prediction is that they're going to be up to a 3.2 in 30 days. So here's my 2 body condition scores. Here's the current one, and I had this set for 3.1 in the expected or the target body condition. So no body condition change here. Right next to that, we'll see over here, we'll see that there are 3 predictions for body condition change based on the energy balance that we just saw, that extra 2 megacows. In 30 days, we can expect that they will be a body condition score 3.2. And in 60 days, there'll be a body condition score 3.3, and they will be expected to dry off somewhere around 3.6. So this body condition, the expectation of that change, is not being accounted for because I've set my 2 body scores, the current one and the target or the expected one, to the same value. So what I'm going to do is go back and plug in a 3.2 body condition score that is being suggested to me here. And that's changes in 30 days. I could put in 3.3 instead because it's also suggested there'll be 3.3 in 60 days. Now what is going to happen is because I'm modeling the expectation that this body condition is going to change, that's going to soak up some of that energy. So some of that extra energy supply that I have is going to go into the body condition change. When I look over here, I'm at 90.8, so I'm within a pound now of what the cows are actually doing. I might be able to tune that a little bit more if I went back in there and I go to the environment. This herd is south of here, so if I say that they're maybe 35 degrees and their low point there normally, they might have some days that are colder, but let's say that their temperature right now is about 35. I'm sorry, their previous temperature was 35, and their cold temperature at night might drop down to 25 or something. We'll just take a swag at that. We go back over and look at my predicted value here, and it's dropped it just a little bit closer. Part of that is because I'm already below the thermoneutral zone there, and I can, if I go back in here and really whack these guys pretty good, if I say the temperature is going to be 25 and the previous temperature was 30 and they're going to drop down at night to 15, then we'll see if that makes a bigger difference. And it's dropping it down incrementally. But when you're in very warm or even colder than this temperatures, you'll see that make a big difference. But basically, if I can get within a pound of the predicted milk yield for the herd, I got this MP milk is still over the ME milk, and I just want to make sure that I put that the true protein in there is 3.3, so that's right. So I'm still a little bit high here, but the limiting one is the ME milk. And now my model is predicting pretty well. I always think that if I can get within a pound of what the cows are doing, I'm doing very well. So now my model is predicting what it should be predicting, what I know is going on the dairy, and it has forced me to pay attention to these other factors on the animal inputs and the environmental inputs. And that's going to be huge. I often get asked to troubleshoot diets, and the first thing I do is I look at the inputs, and the inputs are often not very realistic for what the cows are actually doing. So as I said, I think you can't expect your diet to perform the way you think it will if it doesn't predict what they're doing before you even start making adjustments. So the key point, I believe, is that we are now going to have to pay more attention to the animal inputs, to our environmental inputs, and we are going to have to make heavy use of this body condition score set up here. But fortunately, you want to put the accurate estimation of what the cows are doing right now into your inputs. And then based on what they're doing right now, it's going to tell us what the energy balance is and the protein balance is. And it will predict a body condition change if that protein, if the energy balance isn't zero. We'll take the energy balance that's suggested here. This is just basically back calculating how many megacows it takes to change a body condition score, looking at the excess body condition, the excess ME supply we have, and predicting when they're going to reach a different score. We plug that in down here. We have to remember to plug in the days. So I can't put 3.3 in here from over here and then put 30 in down here, because that will sort of make my, that'll change my prediction here. So you see it drops it down to 88. So you have to have both, see that 88 there, you have to have the predicted change in body conditions. If I use the 3.3 at 60 days, I have to put the 60 days in also, and then it does a pretty good job there. So the bottom line is I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is going to make me a better nutritionist. And Dave, I don't want to hear any chuckling from you. I know you think I need to be a better nutritionist, but in any case, I think it's going to make us all better nutritionists, because we're going to pay more attention to the cows in terms of our inputs, and that's going to be a big benefit of using this. So that's essentially, I think, the biggest thing you're going to have to be attending to as you move to 6.55. Now, there are some people whose strategy in making this move will be to continue to use 6.50 and then sort of wean their way onto 6.55. I think my personal strategy, and this is not a recommendation for anybody else, but for me, I'm going to jump right in and use 6.55. I have the opportunity at this info tab to switch things back and forth and look at it the way I was used to looking at it last month. But I found that for me, I'm better off to go ahead and take the plunge and then pay attention to how well it's predicting what's going on. I always have that option to take a quick look at the 6.5 version of what it is. But I'm really excited that this is going to be a great help on this new thing. So that's the changes as we move from 6.50 to 6.55. I think biologically they make great sense. I think that they will help us to be better nutritionists. They'll force us to pay more attention, and we have to take that attention that we're paying and make sure we translate that into the animal inputs pages. And I think some of the biggest benefits are going to be in dry cows and heifer diets, and Dave and I think that in another week or so we'll have enough experience to tell you how that's working. Basically, in the heifer arena, what frequently happens is that our model, the CNCPS model, is basically being associated with heifers that are getting fatter than they should. So essentially, it's under-predicting the energy supply, and when we formulate to what we think we need, we're actually putting more energy in there than we think. There has been a big improvement in that. When Mike Van Amberg and the Cornell crew moved from version 5 to version 6 of the CNCPS, there was a renovation on the requirement side of heifers. So there was a change in how body condition was handled. That used to kick up the maintenance requirement. There was a change in the surface area equation that improved the surface area prediction, which has a role in heat loss. There were several other changes, and it was definitely better after 6.0 than it was earlier in terms of fattening. It's still a little bit, for many of us, especially in older heifers that are on higher forage diets, it's still not quite right. We're still tending to get a little bit of fatness there, so some of us are discounting the ME allowable gain. We're shooting for a little bit less than the full ME allowable gain that we want. Hopefully much of that will disappear with this, but we're not ready. Dave and I are not ready to talk to you about that till we have a little bit more experience with it. And obviously part of the challenge with getting experience with heifer diets is that, unlike the cows, which we know pretty much what their output is, most of us don't have good data for the heifers. You know, we really need to have a facility where they're running across a scale and we can tie the intakes to the actual gains and evaluate what we're doing. Dave's got some great clients, and he has more access to some of that, so he's going to be looking at that even harder than I am. And we will be getting back to you, but we're pretty excited about this. We're pretty excited about the way the RUM&N team has put together this implementation. We think it's pretty neat to be able to switch back and forth between the two versions and sort of ease our way into it. And we hope that you have a lot of success with it.
Two things.
Dave?
Yeah, two things. We'll get that dry cow and heifer tutorial within a week and get it out to everybody on the recording. Just one more thing, Buzz. Can you show your first diet up there is in 6.5? And
yep.
That is the saved diet, so that's you've got that saved. And if you
yep.
just go to the info tab and now do the 6.5 update on it, if you just go to...
Dave is looking at this right up here, and it's telling me that the original diet, this the first one I had up, is in 6.5. So if I go ahead and he wants me to go to the info tab, if I can get back to my pointer. Oops, that's not what I want. And change it to 6.55.
Yeah.
Then go back out, and I'm on the original diet. And we can see up here that my tab has changed, and now it says 6.55.
Now, if you go over and do the comparison tab, hit the comparison tab. That was something that Hermana was showing us today.
Yep. Okay. Let me get that. So if I go in here to comparison, and
what it did was the computer did look at those two diagrams. As we started moving things around, it changed a little bit around there, but
well, I changed these two halogens that I renamed, same halogens, but basically it's the same diet. So let's just look at the allowable milk. Yeah, see, I think, Dave, I'm sorry that I did that.
Okay.
The way I did.
No problem. So
basically, what Dave is suggesting is if you take that diet and you have it saved, and then you change it to 6.55 from 6.5 and go into comparison, you will be able to open up down here on the NCPS tab and see the difference in the allowable milk. And if you want to know why and where that's coming from, you can look at for instance, the carbohydrates and compare. In my case, these aren't different because it's an artifact of what I did managing these diets before the video. So basically, you can do this and compare the two.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, and I think they can see the idea there. Pulling up a regular diet that's in 6.5 and then changing it over to 6.55 on the info tab and hitting the comparison is a strong feature. So
yeah, I may actually, Dave, be able to do that here. If we go to comparisons, we should have just one diet here. Let's see if I have allowable milk. Yeah, but it's not the same two comparisons. So I'm sorry. I worked with both of these prior to the session, and that's why we're not getting it correct.
Yeah.
Dave's point is well taken. You can, again, if you have a saved diet, pull it up, and then switch to the other version of the model. Go to the comparison tab, and the second one there, you'll have both of those to compare the two versions of the model. Makes a handy way to do it.
All right. Well, I think what we'll do is close this session, and like you said, if people have ideas and you know, as they get used to looking at the software and what we're doing, please let us know what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. Again, using that comparison tab, I just pulled up two diets. I pulled up the 6.5, changed the info tab here. You can see that all my feeds are exactly the same. And then I did the comparison on 1 and 2, and it's showing me that milk increase and the MP difference here. So with that, we'll close it up. Thanks a lot for your time.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave.